The light is red. I'm your co-host, Isaiah Guzman, with my other host, Dusty Moniz, athletic director here at Monte Vista Christian School. And yeah, we're doing our first ever remote guest today as we figure out this audio stuff and figure out this podcast stuff. But welcome to Mind of the Mustang. I think this is episode 5. You can find us wherever. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I was going to say wherever you get your podcast, but I guess that's the 3 spots we got it, right?
Yeah.
So
Those may be the only 3 spots.
those are the only 3 spots. I was going to say it because I hear other podcasts say that wherever you get your podcast. But anyhow, yeah, our guest today, it's going to be cool. This is our first guest. It's an actual guest. It's not somebody from Monte Vista or the community surrounding Monte Vista or just people we know through relationship. His name is Brian Smith, and he co-authored just recently with Ed Uzinski. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. A book called Away Game, A Christian Parent's Guide to Navigating Youth Sports. And to sum it up, it's basically Away Game transforms the competitive sports field into a discipleship opportunity, equipping you to help your young athlete become not just a better player, but a Christ-like follower of God. And I think, I've heard Brian speak about the book, and I've read some of it, and I'd say it's just as much geared toward the parents as it is towards the players. So without further ado, actually, I just want to give a little bit more on Brian. He's worked with Athletes in Action since 2008, so almost 15 years in the sports ministry field. Went to Wake Forest University, has a master's in theology and sports studies. I want to hear more about that from Baylor University. Like, how do you combine theology and sports studies into one degree? And former collegiate cross country and track athlete. So please welcome to the show, Brian Smith. Brian, welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. Excited to be with you.
Yeah, man. And you're coming in from Lowell, Michigan, right?
Yeah, Lowell is a very small town in Michigan, just outside of Grand Rapids. For anybody that's listening that's familiar with Michigan geography.
Nice. And so I just pulled up to the podcast today in a t-shirt and sweatpants, and I probably don't even need the sweatpants, but would you please describe to our community here what the weather was like up there in Michigan today?
Oh, I don't know if I can do it justice in words. It was -2 when I stepped outside today. I'm also a high school track and cross country coach, and we do morning lifts on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're recording this right now on a Monday. So yeah, it was so cold, even in the short walk from my front door to my van. Like, I almost just turned back and went inside and skipped it. But yeah, it's once you get into the teens and below that, even every 5-degree change is so incredibly significant.
Oh man.
So it's brutal here right now. It's miserably cold.
So is it that kind of cold? I've heard like you spit and it freezes before it hits the ground type stuff, or what? Or can it
I have not experienced that. It is the cold where if you go outside and if you're an athlete at all and you are like breathing hard, your boogers will just like freeze in your nose within 10 to 15 seconds.
Yeah. That's like those, people talk about those hard moments in their faith walk with the Lord. And I feel like that kind of cold can make you question God. Like, why did you do this? Right. Was this intentional?
Why do I live here? I could go anywhere else probably. Why do I live in Michigan?
Yeah. No, I'm sure it's beautiful too. But yeah, I was just thinking before we jump into the book and stuff, obviously, like, I think there's so much in there for our community, for parents, athletes, for us to hear. Just as guys, I feel like we always start with our accomplishments and our titles and what we do for work. But like, why don't you just share with everybody here at Monte Vista kind of like who you are as a father, person, follower of God, just a little bit more about you, like anything.
Yeah, I would. Even with what I do with Athletes in Action, I'm constantly encouraging athletes and coaches to ground their identity not in what they do, but in who they are in Christ. And so I would start by just saying, yeah, I am a Christ follower, and so I live to love and serve Jesus outside of my primary identity in Him. Yeah, I'm a husband to Lindsay. We've been married for 20 years. She was my high school sweetheart. So we actually met in high school in 1999.
Wow.
We went to different colleges to run cross country and track. You mentioned this already, but I went to Wake Forest University, and Lindsay went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and we both ran there for 4 years. And then we got married right out of college. We have 3 kids now: Hudson, Hadassah, and Judah. Hadassah and Judah are domestic adoptions.
Wow.
And yeah, I have been on staff with a sports ministry, Athletes in Action, now for 17, going on 18 years. I did about 10 years of campus ministry at the University of Wisconsin. And so that was discipling Wisconsin Badger athletes. So basically every sport they have there, we were the chaplain, mentoring them, discipleship. And then when we moved back to our hometown here in Michigan a few years ago, we took on different roles within Athletes in Action. And so I work with our Ultimate Training Camps, which is a 6-day camp that goes on all over the world, helping athletes integrate faith and sport. And like I already mentioned this too, I'm also the high school track and cross country coach here in our town. And I do a lot of my ministry work online writing. So I own the website, thechristianathlete.com, and a lot of my ministry is articles, Bible studies, devotionals, and books that are kind of birthed from that website.
It's awesome. Yeah, I forgot to mention that you write for thechristianathlete.com. I did not know that was your website.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yep, I'm also a Detroit Lions fan, so we're in the thick of it right now, hoping to make the playoffs. I'm not sure when this podcast is going to air, but as of right now, there's 3 weeks to go, and it is not looking good for the Lions.
Dang, I'm actually rooting for you. Like I'm an Eagles fan, so I mean we just had it last year, and it's a tough blue collar city. My wife and I lived there for a while. We're from here, but we were youth pastors out in Philly for a couple years, and so it's like we were there when they won their first Super Bowl,
Mm.
and it's just kind of like a tough, kind of downtrodden blue collar town. I feel like Detroit has the same kind of vibe. So like if it's not Philly, I think the team I'd be going for. I think the city that needs it the most. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills have had their hearts broken many times, but like,
They need it too, yeah.
but that's the team, not the city. I'm thinking like a city that needs like some kind of some kind of love, something good to happen. I'm thinking Detroit, and I just like it's Dan Campbell, right?
Yep.
That
Yep.
dude seems like he's a player's coach. Like guys would run through a wall for him.
Yep. So it's an exciting time here. Also a little nervous. We're hoping we can at least get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so reading your book, it's one of those things that as soon as I picked it up, I was like, man, this should be like required reading for parents with kids who play sports. And right away, I was like, man, I'd love for some of the folks at the school that I'm currently the athletic director at to take this book and read it, because there's a few things that caught my eye, but one of the things is just like this idea that I think the first thing you wrote about in the book was, and I'm not sure if it was you, but it was at a football game or your co-author, but it's like, we go in with the right intentions and we're like, okay, I'm not going to say what I want to say right now to the referee on the field. I'm not going to boo or yell and then all of a sudden it's like, it just builds and builds. And then they have this moment that you later regret, and you feel like you kind of undermine some of the progress you're making with your kids and things like that. And so I was wondering, like, could you just talk a little bit about like how this book came to be a thing, and where you got the title from, and yeah, like some of the goals of the book.
Yeah, yep. And so that's the first story in the book. That was me. That was my story. And I was actually writing this book while that happened. So
Wow.
for the people listening, hopefully you buy the book. If you don't, here's the spoiler. I was attending the last game of my middle school son's football career, and had great intentions going into it. I was just going to sit in the stands and watch and enjoy it. And I kept telling myself that it's probably going to be his last football game, just enjoy it. The refs were not great. And for the better part of the game, I held my tongue, and I was in good spirits, but it just kept building and building. And there was a call made late in the third quarter. And if you're familiar with the rules of football, holding penalty is 10 yards, and the referee walked it back 20 yards. And without even thinking, I just yelled out, holding is a 10-yard penalty, ref, not 20 yards. And he looked up in the stands and he said, who cares? And it just like ignited our fan base, and the other, like, we were on the away side, the home crowd was going crazy too. And it made the rest of the game miserable, because then the coaches felt like they had a renewed license to yell at the refs and complain about everything. And at the end of the day, the kids were the ones that suffered for it. So I lit the match on a field that was already soaked in gasoline, just waiting for some moron to do it, and it was me. And we titled the book Away Game. It had a dual purpose. One From a Christian perspective, the Bible is going to use language like we're strangers in a foreign land. We're called to be in the world, but not of the world. And so when we're trying to live out our faith in whatever avenue God has us in, we are really living in an away game type atmosphere. We're not on the new earth yet. We're not in heaven. So it really is, it's an away game. And then on the sports side of it, for anybody that's familiar with just, yeah, you're going to an away game, and it's an unnatural environment. You don't know where the bathrooms are. You know it's going to cost a lot to get in. You're not sure how much. You don't know where to park. You assume you're going to get bad calls from referees. If you're watching football, your side of the stands is probably going to be with the sun shining in your eyes. And so it's just this idea, man, if we approach youth sports as if it's an away game, we at least go in with proper expectations that it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies, that there's going to be issues with coaches and referees and teams and leagues and schools. And if we go in with proper expectations that we're going to hurt and it's not going to be great, hopefully it would prevent us from parents from overreacting in the moment and saying things and doing things that we wish we could take back in the minutes after the game, but maybe even years after it's over as well.
Yeah, it's so good because, I mean, I know as a coach, I'm often going into a season with all the right intentions, right? Like, of course I want to win, but really what I'm thinking, and I know our coaches at Monte Vista are thinking this way too. It's like, we want to mentor these kids. We want to teach them virtues. We want to teach them humility and how to work as a team. And we go in with all these inspirational kind of ideas on how to mold young men and women, right? And then that first bad call, that first, tough criticism or whatever it is, and it has this way of like our emotions, kind of getting the best of us, and so that just really hit home with me, because I think for a lot of our parents, they're going into seasons the same way. They like, when I ask parents why they have their kid participate in sports, it's generally because they hope they get the virtue and the teamwork and all the great things that come with athletics. That I would call it the educational experience that comes in athletics. For our Christian families, they're hoping that they see the gospel in the way that athletics plays out here.
Yep.
But then there's this flesh side, when the ref makes a bad call, or when your child's not playing or they're not playing well, and then you talk a lot about how to kind of do that and then redirect it towards kingdom principles, which I loved.
Yeah, and I would say too, to throw in, I'm not a let's not keep score and everybody gets participation ribbons and trophies. Like, I really do believe it is glorifying to God, not to win, but to go for the win, to play with excellence, to pursue excellence in sport, to play to win the game. I think that's a great reflection of 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whether you eat or drink or whatever you do everything for the glory of God. Again, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to come out ahead on the scoreboard, but you should do everything you can within the rules while honoring your opponent to try to win the game. And so I like to throw that out too, just so people don't think I'm just the virtues guy and all I care about is character. For sure, yes and amen, but man, teach the fundamentals, go win the game. Absolutely. It is sports. That's why you play sports, is to see who can best the other team on any given day.
Totally. I mean, on that note, my daughter, she's 6 now, but I mean, from the time she was 2 or 3, it was very clear she's competitive. So like, I think even little kids know that, like they have that fire in them, right? Like,
Yep.
I could try to say that everybody, we always tie, nobody wins, but someone like my daughter who's built like that would be bummed. She's like, no, I'm racing to win here. Even if we're going from the car to the front door of the house, like, I want to win,
Yes,
So,
absolutely. And a lot of what I do in my work too is helping people understand that, yeah, you do want to go for the win, but from a Christian perspective too, and a lot of people will back this up just experientially. Winning never satisfies us as much as we think it's going to, or we put all of our eggs in if we can just win this game, this championship, this whatever, then our life is going to be great, or at least the next little bit will be great. And man, winning is really, really fun, but it doesn't satisfy the deep longing in our heart for something deeper and more meaningful. So it's a good reminder for those of us working in sports, and even those listening, for the kids, for parents too. Like, yes, go for the win, but don't put all of your eggs in the basket of thinking that once you win, everything in life is going to be better. Because in the culture of sport and the rest of the life, the way it works is you win once, but then you gotta keep winning to keep that feeling. And in sports, there's only one team that ends up with a win at the end of the season. Everybody else loses. So if you're putting all your hope in that win, it will disappoint. Only Jesus can satisfy the longing of our hearts.
So true. I mean, take my Eagles, for example. Defense. I mean, they've been kind of falling apart recently, right? Defending champs, and like here they are the next year, and it's like, yeah, like you don't do it again. It's like that one year you won the Super Bowl doesn't mean jack squat once you
It's
start falling
great.
apart.
It's great. It's great for a little bit, but if we put all of our hope in one good season or one victory, it's never going to satisfy. So that's just a good reminder for us.
No doubt.
Maybe a better example would have been my Patriots. Just having to win all the time.
The dynasty, yeah, big. No, got a target on your back,
Well,
totally.
Tom Brady's the one who had that famous interview on 60 Minutes. I think it was after his third Super Bowl. And he said something like, man, why do I sit here with 3 Super Bowl rings? And I think there's got to be more to life than this. And the interviewer asked, well, what is it, Tom? What do you think else there is? And he kind of looked exasperated at the interviewer and said, I wish I knew. I wish I.
Yeah.
So he was on top of the world at that point. He was married to his supermodel wife, millions and millions of dollars, 3 Super Bowl rings, and he was still in the state of there's got to be more to life than this. And I mean, he had reached the pinnacle of everything we would think sport culture tells us is it. And it still left him unsatisfied and wanting more. So it's just a good warning for us to go pursue the win, but don't trust that it's going to give you all that sports culture promises. It's going to be great for a couple days, but then get back to the grind and you got to do it again.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that sports culture. One of the things your book does, I think, awesomely is kind of walk the reader through how sports have changed in the U.S. And, I think the last time I looked this up, it was a $40 billion industry in youth sports.
Yeah, that's the latest statistic, and that's probably a year old, so it has probably surpassed that at this point. So just so people are aware, that's more than the entire video game industry combined. $40 billion is what youth sports is evaluated at right now.
Right. And so, I mean, money kind of plagues everything, and kind of changes the nature of it. But I mean, maybe you could just walk us through a little bit. You don't have to go through the whole history. I'll let folks buy the book. But, obviously it didn't start out with the intention of making a lot of money and using kids kind of as commodities from a young age. And I will tell you that is certainly the way athletes are viewed nowadays by those recruiting them or putting them on certain AAU teams and that kind of thing. So
How did we get to where we're at today? We outline 6 kind of historical threads in the book. I'll give you a couple right now. One is in the 70s when you had the baby boomer generation having all the kids. Going to college used to be, it wasn't as big of a thing back then as it is today, and in large part it's because the baby boomer generation decided that they were gonna send all their kids to college. So when you have massive amounts of people doing that, it becomes almost an arms admissions race to figure out how can we make our kids' applications stand out and look a little bit bigger and better and brighter than other people's. So sports became one of those things where, if we can get little Timmy to play baseball and basketball and soccer, then that could give them a leg up in the admissions process. It also kind of opened the door for all the scholarship talk as well. So maybe if Timmy can get good enough at soccer, he can get in wherever on a scholarship. So that was one thing that significantly changed the landscape of youth sports. It went from a place of just play and enjoyment to now there was a means to an end, that parents had a lot invested in their kids because it meant college was on the other end waiting. Another significant one, and I actually, this one was really interesting to me. In the late 90s, Disney decided to build their worldwide sports complex. Kind of the idea was that all these 12, 13, 14-year-old kids were kind of aging out of the Disney princesses and all the rides. And so they wanted to build something that would produce residual income for those kids. And they built it and it was going great. And then in 2001, 9/11 hit. And what they found was after the terrorist attack and on 9/11, families stopped going to their major theme parks, Disney's major theme parks, but attendance at the sports complex doubled.
Wow.
Which is crazy. It was like, we're too afraid to go to ride some Star Wars ride, but we have a tournament there, and so we need to be there. And so other cities and municipalities took notice of that. And today there's over 30,000 complexes similar to Disney's, in large part because everyone took notice and saw, man, these complexes are essentially terrorism proof. And again, it is well-intentioned parents we want what's best for our kids, but a lot of times we get taken advantage of by what we call the youth sports industrial complex. They know we want what's best for our kids, and so they're great, incredible entrepreneurs out there who are promising the world, and we're ponying up for it.
Totally. It's kind of like when you're checking out at the grocery store, they got all the candy right there at the aisle because they're all just those little knickknacks because they know a kid's gonna be like, "Mommy, I want that."
So true. So
You
true.
know, it's the same. Yeah, that's
Yep.
crazy. So since 2001, so it's 24 years, 30,000 of these have popped up, right?
And growing. Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what do you, I mean, you go over this as well in the book, but I'll just name a few of them. It's like all of a sudden now, playing sports comes with a lot more anxiety, a lot more pressure on the parents to travel all over the country, a lot more if I have to be on this particular team if I'm going to play, past this point in my career. And that's all kind of a product of that, right?
Yeah, and early specialization too. We are now at the spot in culture where we are making judgment calls on 6, 7, and 8-year-olds, figuring out, and if they can throw a ball with their left hand when they're 8 years old, then they need to be specialized in baseball, and we need to start the training process.
That's crazy.
So we're really poor at developing or scouting talent, in large part because kids under the age of 13 haven't hit puberty yet. And so here's the crazy statistic is that 70% of kids are quitting youth sports by the age of 13 because it's no longer fun. And why is it no longer fun? It is because we, as the adults, again, well-intentioned adults, I'm not throwing us under the bus. It's well-intentioned adults have professionalized youth sports that we think going to the bigger and the better and traveling further and the elite squad, we think all these like professionalized avenues for youth sports is going to be really, really fun for our kids. And what we're learning through research is it's putting pressure on kids that they just can't handle, and it's not fun for them anymore. And if kids are not having fun playing sports, they don't want to play anymore. They don't have the resilience to go from age 10 to 15 playing a sport that's just not fun and pressure filled.
Right.
So we've created a system almost where it's doing the opposite of what we want. In the book, in large part, and I know we're going to get to this too, the book is not just complaining about the youth sports as it is today. It's really helping parents see how, one, this is how we got here. This is how you can see what's going on. But two, you can do something about it. There's actually a lot of good that comes from youth sports, but it takes a perspective shift on the parents to begin watching for, we call them like character metrics instead of just performance metrics. And so it really is on the parent to change how they view their kid and youth sports. And if they do, we think you can actually get a lot more in your investment in youth sports than maybe what you're even trusting it for right now.
Yeah.
Like I'll say something like, just because, as an athletic director at a Christian high school, a middle school and high school, it's like, I go back to why do we play sports at all in schools? Like, why are we doing this? And for me, it's because it's co-curricular. It's like it's not extracurricular for me. It's right alongside the academic program and the spiritual life program and all the other things that we do at school, because it is in place to do the very same things, right? Like, done right, our athletes should be learning a lot about life, a lot about who Christ is. They should be able to kind of internalize those virtues throughout their time here, because I always have thought of sports as like it's like you can go through all the emotions you might go through in a month in like one period of a basketball game or a hockey game or whatever it is. Like you can feel all that, like the highs and the lows, and things are going well and then they're not, and then disappointment and success, and having to take some criticism and failure and knowing what to do with that. And so like I've always looked at it from that perspective, but I've also realized that there's, and that's I don't think it's void of the wanting to win and the competition and all those things that we're trying to achieve, because I'm the first one to say excellence is super important.
Yep.
But I also just I think it's a really hard transition to go from playing youth club sports, being in that culture, and then all right, now you're stepping onto Monte Vista's campus for the first day, and we're just not that. Like we're not that same thing. So
Yeah, there's a quote that they have attributed to Aristotle, some people to Plato, but it's something along the lines of you can learn more about somebody through 1 hour of play than in 20 years of conversation. And so just this idea, and for those of us that have played sports, you get it. Like just when you play, the real you comes out. Like when I play pickup basketball with my friends in the neighborhood, a different version of Brian comes out than the one I'm just gonna show at a party or at a grocery store. But the version of me when I play sports is actually the real version.
True.
It's just sports reveals it. And that's one of the beautiful things that sports offers us, is we get a fuller glimpse of who our kids are on the baseball field or on the basketball court or in the pool, because they're playing sport, because the world of sports squeezes emotions out of us that maybe the classroom wouldn't, or relationships wouldn't. A bad call from official is going to elicit a response that few things in life would. And so again, it's a beautiful thing about sport, that we actually get to see where our kids are at in their character journey. We get to see if they're lacking self-control, or if they have a prideful spirit, or if there's insecurity in their life. Sport's going to reveal just about all of that to us. But if we're so concerned with, he didn't get a lot of playing time today, rather than, I wonder how he's feeling because he didn't get playing time today, I wonder what's going on in his heart, we're going to miss those moments as parents. And that's what I'm arguing for in the book with Ed, is let's start paying attention to the bigger perspective that's going on in sport, that's offered by sport.
Totally. I mean, on that note, you talk about in the book, like, and like you're just saying that it gives you a window into your child's heart, but sports also reveals a lot about us as parents, right? Like the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So
watching our kids is like a mirror too, to our own maturity. So I've worked in sports ministry now for almost 20 years. I got the master's degree. I wrote the book. And if you sit next to me in the bleachers at a game, you would be like, how is this guy writing books and ministering to people? Because I'm faced with my own shortcomings because of sport.
Yeah.
And on one end, I'm like frustrated by that. The other side, I'm really grateful, because it shows how much maturing I still have to do.
No, so true. I think just as a parent myself too, I just like, you learn. It's like the Star Wars scene. I'm not even like a Star Wars guy. I mean, I like them, but where Luke Skywalker, that's funny. We're sitting in a room with like the teacher whose room we record, and there's like crazy amounts of Star Wars memorabilia on the walls, and like probably thousands of dollars worth of stuff in here. But there's a scene like, well, Luke Skywalker like has to, like, his final step in becoming a Jedi, right? He's got to go. He, like, I forget, Yoda takes him and he's in this weird dream sequence where he's fighting Darth Vader, his dad, and he chops his head off and he looks inside the helmet and it's his own face. So I feel like as a parent, you come face to face with the ugly side of you, right? It just brings stuff up, sports or otherwise, right? It just brings that ugly side of you up. I mean, even for me, like coaching my daughter's like 5-year-old soccer team a couple years ago, I'm the coach of the team, and she didn't want to play the first three games, so she's on the side like picking grass and stuff, and I find myself getting so annoyed, and people might laugh, and I'm like, I was getting way more annoyed than I should have been getting, right? But it's like there was an insecurity in me or ego or whatever I felt as coach of her team that like, dude, I can't be the coach and have my daughter like screwing around on the side here. She's got to want to play, like you have all these expectations of what I don't have like some grand ambition of her playing D1 or anything, but I just thought my daughter would play soccer if I'm the coach and she's put the
I know.
flowers.
Isn't that weird though? Like, and I totally get that. I felt this too. Like when my kids play well in sports, I'm walking around with my chest sticking out a little bit. Like maybe it's pride, but I definitely feel really good about myself and my kid. But when they don't play well, like I feel a little embarrassed. And when they maybe do something that contributes to losing the game for the team, I feel like maybe other parents are looking at me. It's like shame, like that is just again, it's a weird thing that sports does to us.
Yeah, no, thank you. I love the transparency. I mean, even I got a 3-year-old son too, my daughter and my son, and then my newborn son, Zion, shout out Zion, was just born 5 days ago. But my son Jaira, he's 3 and he's little, he's smaller, like on the percentile list, and I'm already thinking like I'm like, I need to hold him back a year because I got to make sure like if he's got talent, like like I don't want to shoot him in the foot. He's like 17 and he hasn't fully developed, and he might not get like offers or whatever. If I let him wait a year, he might be bigger and stronger. So,
We'll just get him on a routine, take some biometrics. We'll get him going. It's almost time. He's like, what, 34?
yeah, it's only 15 more years ago. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm not immune to it either. And it's not, again, not some crazy ambition, but the thought runs through my head. So like, I wanted to say, just thinking of that too. Just like on that note, like, what do you have to offer parents in the book, I guess, that kind of like struggle with that too? Maybe, you talk a little bit about the car ride home, or just maybe struggling with that insecurity or that pride or whatever it is that comes up in you as a parent watching your kid play sports.
Yeah, we try in the book to normalize it. Again, I'm sharing a lot of my own failures, so is Ed in the book, just to let parents know, like, hey, we get it. We are not immune to this either. But if we have any hope in helping to impart character and virtue to our kids, it really does start with us. Like if I'm screaming in the stand and losing control, how do I expect my kids to hear a lesson from me about self-control? Or if I'm so focused on my kid in the game and I'm only cheering for them and I don't have eyes to see other people, how are my kids going to receive from me telling them that we need to live like Jesus and see other people and prioritize other people when all I seem to care about is me and my kid? And so it really does start with, man, I need to take a deep breath. I need to embody this first. And when I talk about embodying, what we're doing in the book is we're going through essentially fruit of the spirit type list of saying that you can, through youth sports, you can help teach your kid how to love. You can teach them patience. You can teach them humility. You can teach them self-control. For me to actually teach those to my kids means that I need to have a growing awareness of maybe where I'm not doing that currently in sport.
That's cool. I mean, you call it buying a ticket. I think you said like buying a ticket to an opportunity or something like that in the book.
Yeah.
It's like when you sign your kid up for sports, you just purchase a ticket that is to an opportunity to be able to like speak to your child's heart in a really like profound way.
Yeah, we say you have what you've bought as a ticket to a front row seat to seeing your kid go through every possible emotion, from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. And then you as the parent get to be the primary person that they process all of that with. And so most of us, when we think of what we've invested into youth sports, we think of, oh man, all the gear, all of the travel, the registration costs, the team, like the whatever. What we're saying is, yes, that is true, but you have also bought this ticket to watch them and see character type things, see where there may be some gaps in their character, see what they do really, really well and celebrate that in them too. But again, that requires us as parents to trust our investment for more than just the wins and losses, to see that character stuff too.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna buy into the $40 billion beast, right? Like, I mean, I think anybody is willing to invest in their child, right? And if they think of it like that, like if you're gonna spend the money anyhow, like think of it as you're spending the
Sure.
money on something eternal versus like whatever you might hope there would lead to a free
Yeah,
education or
if
whatever.
my kid can learn from youth sports how to engage with people on the margins, how to, if everybody else is calling some kid weird and kind of pushing them to the side, if through sports I'm encouraging my kid and giving them language and tips on how to actually go and show love to that person on the margin, that's that's going to show up in their life when they're 30 years old. The result of that game, they're not going to remember, but they will remember that they learned through sport how to talk to other people, how to reach people who are hurting. They will learn from sport, again, if we're teaching them what it looks like when a ref makes a bad call and they practice self-control. That's going to show up later in life too. You want your kid to have self-control when they get behind the car, or when they get a phone, or maybe when they're on a screen when nobody else is looking. Sports is like this living laboratory where we can teach these really, really good life lessons, and we've invested a lot of money into it. And so what we're saying is let's make good on that investment and trust it for eternal things.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you have an example? I mean, just of a time when, you're watching your kid play, or it could even be like, you did ministry in colleges, but where that approach was like, like really able to be helpful to one of your athletes or your children.
Yeah, I will give you an example from 2 days ago, and I haven't capitalized on this yet because I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it, but I'll let you know the circumstance. My son is a freshman in high school. He made the varsity A wrestling team, which is a big thing in our school. We are 11, we've won 11 straight state titles in wrestling, so our school is really, really good.
Midwest wrestling.
Yeah, so he was at a tournament last weekend. This past weekend, did phenomenal. Went 8-2. His last match, though, he wrestled another kid who was one of the top wrestlers in Division 4, which is one of the divisions here in Michigan, and he got beat like 10-0. He got beat up pretty good by this kid, but he came off the mat and had tears in his eyes, and coaches were great. They were telling him that was actually a win, even though it wasn't. He lost. but he was super emotional about it. And so as a dad, again, it's a testosterone filled environment, wrestling, all these wrestling. I'm not a wrestling dad. I didn't wrestle. I ran, but everybody's so intense, and it's not an environment where you cry or where you have tears. And so I didn't feel shame or embarrassed at all about that, but I am, and I have been wondering, like, how can I engage with him and ask a question like, and maybe this is the question, what do you think would be a good one here? Something like, what made those tears come on Saturday? Like, what were you feeling in the last few minutes of the match and after you lost? Like, what is it that brought about those tears? Because it speaks to something deeper in his life that was going on. Like, I want to know, was it just frustration that he lost? Was he physically hurt? Was he experiencing shame? Was there expectations from coaches, or he's putting on himself because it's a really good team? And so once I learn where those tears come from, then it's my job as the parent and the primary character shaper in his life, at least at this point, to help work through that. But if all I'm concerned about is helping him get better so that next time he faces this kid, he's better prepared, I'm not taking advantage of the gift that these tears are actually going to give me.
Big time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Totally. That's not easy to do. Yeah, I'm just curious as you're talking, as we kind of approach the end here, like a lot of the community here at Monte Vista, they're not all believers here. It's Monte Vista Christian School, but it's a school, so we invite people in who are not believers. So I'm just curious, like this book is written primarily for the Christian parent, right? But what do you have to say for people who may not be walking with the Lord, or maybe new believers, or what can they take away from this book?
Yeah. Yep. A few things. All of the research and data and experts that are looking at youth sports right now and trying to figure out what is wrong with it and how can we fix it, to a T, they've all come to the same conclusion. And that's we need to inject fun and play back into sports. And so everybody has agreed that the problem with youth sports right now is that it's no longer fun for the kids. And a big part of what we're doing in this book is we are saying we need to make sports fun for the kids again. And we're giving practical ways for parents to do that. And so that's universal. We all want our kids to enjoy and have fun in sports, but it starts with us realizing, man, hopefully we're not the problem preventing them from doing that. But then too, the character traits that we're talking about are not exclusively Christian traits. We're talking about, man, how can you help your kid love other people well through sport? And what is love? It is doing what is best for somebody else in spite of what it might cost me. Even if you're not a Christian, like, do you not want your kid to learn how to love well? Won't that show up when they're 30 years old? We're talking about self-control. Don't we all, again, whether our kids are Christ followers or not, don't we all want our kids to embody what it is to have self-control? We are talking about things like humility. Man, who of us don't want our kids to walk around with a humble heart? And again, we want our kids to be confident. We're clear about that in the book, but we want our kids to have a humble confidence as well. So yes, it is a book for Christian sports parents. But even if you are not, I think one, it will help you maybe better understand the Christian faith. But two, it's just got a lot of really good practical things that'll just help you as a parent.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, thank you, Brian, for coming on. Unless Dusty, you got more questions, or I mean, we could go forever. That's like a teaser of the book. Hopefully, we didn't steal too much of the book's thunder.
No, I mean, there's a lot in there, and is as I read through it, I was so impressed with when you get into kind of the practical biblical application to all these things, as far as kind of what to kind of teach your kid, how to be more humble, how to be a better teammate. And I just could see our families just really feeling like it was speaking their language. And so, yeah, thank you for coming on. Thank you for writing this book. And
Dusty, do you have the power to make it required reading in English classes here?
yes, it's now required.
For the students, not the parents. You can't require the parents.
I may be a little out of my lane on this one.
Well, I will say this. I have another book for the athletes it came out through 3.5 years ago called The Christian Athlete, Glorifying God in Sport.
Yeah.
And it's written specifically for high school and college athletes, essentially similar things. How do you integrate faith into the athletic context? If parents are interested in away game, getting it, I also have and I can just email this to you guys for free too. It's a 12-week study guide curriculum. And so Ed and I think that this is best read in community with other people for kind of shared accountability. So we have this kind of study guide type curriculum. If you want to do it with other people, that'll walk you through each week. And I would, if
that would be powerful.
Yeah,
get like small groups going, like season with a team, right? So kids are on the field playing. Parents,
it's important, at Monte Vista. Like, one of the things we talk about is we want to be a city on a hill and salt and light to others. And like this is one of those things. When we're at a game, those emotions come up. The way we're handling our kids, it's very, very difficult. And I think, it's really easy to be an administrator and just kind of be like, oh yeah, like, why are you yelling at don't do that. Like, we've told you not to do that. But when it's your kid, we can all, sit here and understand, when your most prized possession in the world feels like they're being hurt, like it's real hard to react in that situation. So I would love that. I'm sure I can put together a group of parents who would love to do that. And then maybe we'll read your other book.
Yeah.
And then we'll maybe have an athlete or two read it. Maybe we can have you back on
with an athlete and hear something.
Yeah, let me know if parents have questions or want to dig in more. I'm happy to get back on this with y'all and chop it again. I love talking about this stuff. Again, I'm not perfect, but I read my Bible every day, and I'm thinking every single day, how can I apply what I'm reading right now into the world of sports for parents, for athletes, for coaches, for myself. So it's what I'm living through ministry right now.
Amen. Well, maybe
Yeah,
I'm way out of my lane on this one, but maybe we can get Brian come out here and talk sometime, something like that.
that'd be sick.
I'm not even on staff here anymore. I'm just fly him out, get him to talk to parents and coaches or something.
There we
Yeah.
go.
He has another kid and he's already making all these offers. So
I already got him on coming. I already got him coming on again.
There you
Got him flying out. So
Required reading.
That's it.
Required reading. Yeah, no. So the book one more time is called Away Game. Brian Smith and Ed Uzinski. I said that right. Uzinski, right?
Uzinski.
Yeah, it's also available as an audiobook and an ebook. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to read the whole thing yet, but it's great what I read so far. I love it. And I love anecdotal stories and transparency. I think sometimes that alone can be so powerful. I'm sure you guys did a good amount of research as you wrote this book, but just even giving parents something to relate to is powerful in and of itself. So,
Excellent.
man, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yep, happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
All right, bro.
great day.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Oh, he's still on there.
Still, yeah, you can hear us, right?
I'm still here. Yep.
We should have had you grade us. We're new. Grade us on
That
our
was great.
courses.
Yep, you did a
Yeah.
great job. Great job.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. All right, we'll go live.
We thank you, man. We really do. I know it's not easy taking time out of a busy day to come on with a bunch of newbies here, but
No, I love doing this stuff. And again, I mean that if you guys want to do it again, if you get good feedback on this one, I'm pumped to hear how many people are already listening to this. It seems like
Now, I think this one
be a good
specifically was,
moment for
yeah,
parents.
this is for parents for sure. I think this, like, it's like almost like if, does Montevista have a newsletter? You like send,
yeah, this will be in my
Yeah.
newsletter for December.
Yeah.
And, so it'll be out on that. And then I don't know. Every time I go to a game right now, I get stopped by 10, 15 parents who are like, "Oh, I heard the podcast." You know, it's
That's good.
crazy. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's all.
Yeah,
I need to get your brain.
It's relevant to people, I guess. You know, so
Awesome. Yeah,
it-
that is awesome. Great work.
Now I want to
Yeah.
pick your brain sometime on publishing too, because like I said, background is journalism. I've written, but haven't written a book yet. I don't want to say never will, but haven't yet. So
I've had that conversation many times with people, so
Yeah.
happy to have it with you as well.
cool.
Cool,
Right
man.
on.
All right. Yeah. Well, one of the things I'll do is I do want to like our spiritual life director. His name's Jesse West. He was one of the first podcasts. Awesome guy. And, he's just, dude, he's a wonderful guy and he brings people out sometimes to speak and things like that. So, yeah, I think, maybe that's something we could talk about later another time. And if that's
I'm
something
open to it. Yep. I travel to do stuff like that all the time, so happy to do it. If it's something you guys want to do, let's make it happen. If not, I'm not offended by that. Like maybe it's no, that one sucked. Let them bring that guy out.
Yeah.
No, it's
Totally fine. So
no,
yeah,
people are gonna love this. Trust me, they're gonna love it. So
yeah, let's just stay in touch and see what God does with it.
Right on, man.
good work. All right, man.
Thanks, man.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
You guys as
See you
well.
later.
Yep,
All
good
right,
meeting you.
bye-bye.
Later.
Oh man.